I'm here with my partner and mortgage broker, Eduardo, who's located in Lisbon. Eduardo, I'll let you introduce yourself
Mhm,
because you know a lot more about yourself and your expertise.
mhm, mhm. All right. Good morning to you all. Thanks very much for having me. Like I said, my name is Eduardo. Located in Lisbon, actually closer to Cascais rather than Lisbon. As a mortgage broker at this point, I would like you to know that I'm certified so I can do mortgage all over Portugal, including Madeira and the Azores, which are part of Portugal. Right, about myself. So basically, I am born and bred in Portugal. I did live abroad for many years in Barcelona, Amsterdam, Paris, London. So I do understand uh, if you are a foreigner coming into Portugal, what difficulties you can get in front of you. I'm educated in economics. I've got actually two degrees, one in management and other in business administration. Many years of my life, I work as a commodity trader. So I got a bit tired of my heart pumping a lot, and which is basically it's quite hectic. And I rolled into the business on the back of knowing some people on the financial sector, and I can tell you it's a bit more relaxed. There's some stress sometimes, but it's kind of a bit of a stress. Like living in close to Lisbon, I live by the beach, so it's really good in the summer. You just sit down, relax, and stuff like that. I'm a father of a 14-year-old, happily married, and yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you
Awesome.
very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eduardo, for being able to introduce yourself. Yeah, so Eduardo and I actually met through one of our mutual friends who purchased a
Mhm.
property that I believe Eduardo helped win the first mortgage. And that's how we connected. And that friend obviously remains a good friend to both of us. And he's also an expat from Florida. We won't say his name, but he's a wonderful, fun guy that we both
Yeah,
enjoy spending time
that's
with.
right. Yeah.
Eduardo, now, whenever it comes to mortgages, you know, a lot of expats that are moving here are saying, okay, I may be buying investment, I may be buying a primary resident. What areas do you primarily work in and want to be able to help clients to continue to move forward in their purchasing process as they come to Portugal?
Okay, so just to be clear, as a foreigner in Portugal, you can get a mortgage. Okay, so that's kind of the sometimes people do have doubts.
Yeah.
My first question when I've got a new client coming in, and this is my position. I don't know other mortgage brokers what I do. I sit down, I do a discovery meeting. Basically, I just try with a few questions, try to understand the lifestyle on the financial side, and I try to put myself on the bank's position. If I were to concede X amount of euros or dollars, if you prefer, to this person, would I do that? And part of my job is to prove the bank that this person has the ability um, to go and get a mortgage. So I would say the first stage is actually to convince myself and get convinced by my client that he can actually pay the mortgage. If I can answer to both questions, yes, then we are in business, and it makes the process much easier to get approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, I mean, you've been in the business long enough to understand what banks are going to want to be able to take on a client and the possibility of them getting approved. So I think it's really interesting that you have that experience, right? And so as people that are watching this video and you do get to be introduced to Eduardo and you become one of his clients, he's going to look at you holistically to make sure that he believes before you start doing all this extra work that you can actually
Yeah.
get pre-approved. And I think that saves people a lot of
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
heartache.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And let me just stress, in fact, many people, when they come in, they don't know how much they can qualify for. So I would say and recommend that actually before starting for a property, try to get an idea of how much they can afford to pay and how much they can get as a mortgage for in their case. So that makes it easier because as you may know, the Portuguese market is very hot, and if you're not pre-approved, then the potential of losing that property without having your mortgage approved is quite high.
Yeah. It's really interesting, right? Because you think with such a big purchase that we're going to be making in our lives that we would be more educated in what we could afford or how we should go about a mortgage. And it's never until like
Yeah, yeah.
the crunch time that we're like, oh, we should probably get approved for a mortgage. So I'm glad that we have
Mm-hmm.
this partnership. Now, whenever it comes to being able to look at areas and purchasing, we ask our real estate agents, what areas should people focus on? For you, as somebody who does do help people get approved for mortgages, what would you say for, let's say, an example, an investor? What are you seeing that's changing in the market right now for an investor and what they should be focusing on? And number two, for people who are buying a primary resident, what are the things that you're seeing that are changing, as far as rates going up, maybe rates going down, some adjustments that banks are making that will help people understand the market a little bit
Yeah.
better?
Okay, so I would start with the last part of your question. As people that trying to buy a property over here and try to buy a property for for their residency. And it's funny, early in the beginning of the conversation, you were saying getting a mortgage is quite an important deal. It's not like going to the supermarket and buying a pack of milk and or beer, whatever you.
Yeah.
It's something that you're going to commit for a long, long time. In many cases, over 30 years. So you need to have your feet on the ground prior than actually moving things forward. Okay,
Mhm.
so in this sense, because it's probably going to be a primary residency, I would say that don't gamble it. It's not, getting a mortgage could be a bit like playing on the stock market. And if you do it on a short term, you can get your fingers burned.
Mhm.
So my advice to you is look at the stable interest rate, going for a fully fixed rate, or what we call the mixed rate. So at least you will pay definitely a premium, but at least you will know how much you're going to pay for and for how long.
Mhm.
And having said that, it's a bit more relaxed and you can actually focus on your life rather than worry if you have enough money to pay for the bills at the end of the month, which is very important. Um, Now, as the first part of the question and as an investment, I would say you need to look at it at two different approaches. One, if you're looking to buy, refurnish and sell, and that's really a short term.
Mhm.
My first advice is probably get you to set up with a local company to get benefits from taxes, or use a local company that you can trust with and can act as a bridge, because definitely you ultimately will receive, I would say, a bonus. Getting financial on this side for the short term is a bit trickier because banks, as far as mortgages are concerned, are looking for a longer relationship. So there are quite a financial products out there that you can use. But if you think about going for 2, 3 years down the road with a property like that, then definitely a mortgage is for you, because the yield and the interest rate you're going to pay is much, much lower. As far as an investor, which is looking to rent out, that's a whole different story. Okay. So my advice is, how long do you plan to look and hold this property? 5 years, 10, 15, whatever. Okay. And if you're eligible enough to get a 30-year mortgage, I would say calculate, and typically my advice is 10 years, because up to 10 years, you have a lot of fiscal benefits if you buy and sell. And the probability of buying a property for X and selling it for X plus Y is quite high. In fact, I would say in some cases 2X. So I would always recommend to go for a fixed rate while you are planning to keep your property. Let's say you do a 30-year mortgage and you plan to keep this property for 10 years, then
Mhm.
go for a 10-year fixed rate, because like I said, how much you're paying for it, and what yield you're going to get it. And of course, at the end of the day, is also to do with where the property is located.
Mhm.
Because for the banks, it makes a difference,
Yeah.
especially if you're doing a mortgage and they're gonna use this collateral. So if you buy a property where no one knows, the likelihood of getting appraisal, which is much lower, is quite high. while in a place like Lisbon, at least you know the market is liquid enough to get it out of your chest. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it make sense for you?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, as you look at these investors and people that are coming in, and you have two different categories, right? You've got, or maybe
Right.
three realistically, you've got your primary resident buyers that need to
Hmm.
understand they need to get pre-approved much sooner than later so they can see what their forecast looks like for their
Yeah.
life. And then number two, you have short-term investors that are trying to flip properties as quickly as possible, but the approval may be a little bit more stringent because banks want that longer relationship. And then those of you who are saying, okay, I want this property for 10 years, you probably have a much better chance to get a property that you can
Yeah.
flip for a really high percentage. And you're
Hmm.
also getting that fixed rate. So you're protecting what your fixed costs are and you're not worrying about, how much your
Yeah.
rent needs to be. So
I, I would say you nailed it. I would just add up. If you're looking for to rent out a property, whether it's for short term or for like a longer term lease, not only you will get the yield on the return of it when you flip the property, plus all those years you rent it out, you get a yield, which I say at this point is no less than 5-6%.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of investors don't think about the equity side of things, right? Because everybody's trying to make
Yeah.
fast cash. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
in this market, yes, you can make fast cash on certain properties, but from the equity perspective, at least what's happened in the last 5 years here in Portugal, I mean, the equity is very, very attractive. Even if you're protecting yourself with that 5% padding, 5% plus padding uh, that you're making on your rentals, I mean, the equity side
Yeah.
is very attractive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to add for people who watch this that are going to say, okay, Eduardo is going to be my mortgage guy, that they can look forward to working with you, or knowledge that you want to make sure that they have before they come to you?
Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty much when I'm working on a day-to-day basis an online guy. So I do a lot of things that require computer, especially to get calculations on what we call debt ratio to income and so forth. But I would say, and call me an old git, whatever you wanna call it. Yeah. I'm a very conservative person when it comes to relationship. So if people want to approach me, I would say the best is give me a call or just drop me an email address, and together in our diary we find a suitable place to have an online meeting like this or even presential, because I like to have a face-to-face reunion with these people, especially on the back. I mean, I've been around as a mortgage broker for going 7+ years, going on my eighth, and people will actually they need to come up with documentation, and
Mhm.
some of this documentation can be deemed classified or confidential.
Yeah.
So we're looking at bank statements, pay slips, tax returns, so I will know what your life is.
Yeah.
And I really focus on engaging with people, establishing a confidence relationship, so that you are on the right track. Okay. And I think the best way to convince people is like in a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Love
Good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I think a lot of expats are moving here, us included, my family, whenever we're moving here.
Hmm.
The fact that we get on calls with somebody, we could go to their website, see they're legitimate,
Yeah,
but then get on a video call with them just helps the process so much more because you're building that trust, like you said.
that's
It's
right.
even though you can't meet them in person immediately, especially if you're moving from, anywhere in the world to Portugal, you do want to have that interaction because it brings your walls down, those defense walls down to say, okay, this is a real
That's right.
person
Yeah.
that can actually
And
explain things to me.
that's it. And plus the fact, you if you don't qualify, you will know online because I have a calculation, and I say I think it's going to be difficult in this kind of stuff. And plus the fact that I'm the type of mortgage broker that is all the way from the beginning towards the end and even afterwards. Okay, if you have problems with your mortgage, I'll come back to you. And this is very important to establish this confidence. And if you have also online meeting like we're having just now, you can shoot away all these questions, get your doubts, and basically you just demystify the whole process and bring the walls down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It makes a massive difference. So I do have one last question for you, Eduardo. I ask everybody on these calls, and it's my favorite question. what is your favorite or set of favorite restaurants that you like to go to in your area?
Oh, do you have the whole morning for me to drop down your list? I am, I'm a really good fan of Japanese food.
Mm,
There is a particular restaurant which I like, which is in a place called Pareda, and this in a shopping mall. I can't quite remember the name. That's a really good one. Um, if you in Pareda as well, I'm trying to remember now. There's a restaurant called Eduardo das Conquilhas.
mm.
So basically, it's a seafood restaurant. You have probably shrimps, even sandwiches like with steaks on it and stuff like that. And as one last being around. It's not quite a restaurant. It's sort of like a place where they sell sandwich before a soccer game and a football game.
Mm.
I'm a Benfica supporter, and I absolutely love before a match going there, grabbing a sandwich and having a beer with my mates, and then go and watch the game.
Love
That's
it.
my suggestion for you.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a mortgage broker, we are going to be, especially if you're in the Lisbon area, we're going to be introducing you to Eduardo. We want to make sure that you know who he is, you know what
Thank
type of food he likes, what type of
you.
mortgage he does, and the process he does. Eduardo, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to let us introduce you to the clients you'll be working with. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And we look forward to having you connect with all these people.
All right. Thank you for having me. And yeah, looking forward to help you out there. Okay.
Wonderful.